Hi everyone. So we are going to continue our discussion with respect to pre-processing and parsing. Already in our previous video, we have completed JSON pre-processing strategies. We saw multiple examples. First of all, how to create a JSON file, how to create a JSON data. We have discussed about it. And then how we can read a JSON data and finally convert into a document along with the metadata structure. We also saw how we can go ahead and do custom JSON pre-processing to create a document structure itself, right? So for all the specific things have been discussed. Now, one more problem statement that we are going to work on. See, in data ingestion and parsing, what are we trying to do? Let's say if we have a PDF file. So let's say if we have a PDF file, now we are working, we know how to go ahead and read it, how to convert that into a document structure. Let it be PDF, Word doc, right? Let's say TXT file, JSON file. So whatever files are there, initially we are using some techniques in order to read this file, all files, or read all the text from the files or the data from the files, and later on convert this into a document structure. In the document structure, you have two important things. One is the content, and second is nothing but the metadata, right? And after this, further, you can go ahead and divide this into chunks, right? And sometimes, whichever inbuilt functions you are specifically using, these are also internally divides the data into chunks, right? This can be chunk one, this can be chunk two, chunk three, and this is what we are specifically doing. Now, in this particular video, what we will be doing is that we will specifically go ahead and, this time, let's say if my data source is in SQL database, right? SQL database. So whenever we are talking about SQL database, we are basically talking about structured data. If I talk about NoSQL database like MongoDB, in short, we are talking about JSON. At the end of the day, we will be getting key value pairs from that particular database. Now, from this SQL database, how we can go ahead and read the data and then finally convert into a document structure. That is what we are going to go ahead and see it. Okay. So first of all, just to go ahead with this, I have created a file which is called as database parsing. Here we are going to specifically use SQL databases. Okay. So now let me just go ahead and write the code. SQL databases. Okay. Now, one important thing is that when we are using SQL databases, you can use any database itself with respect to SQL. But for our learning, what I'm going to just make a little bit simple for you, where I'll be focusing more on database which is called as SQLite. Okay. So let's first of all go ahead and create a sample SQLite database. Okay. And again, guys, I am still, you can see after discussing so many things, I'm still in this stage, where I'm showing you different data sources, how you can read it and convert into a document structure, and later on converting into a chunk. Chunking strategy is very simple, but the most important thing is that you really need to know about parsing. So now here I'm going to go and create a simple SQLite database. So first of all, we are going to import SQLite 3. Okay. And after importing SQLite 3, this should be SQLite 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and make import OS. And we are going to make a directory which is called as database directory. So os dot make directories. And I'll give some directory name like data slash databases. Okay. And you'll go ahead and use exist underscore OK is equals to true, saying that, hey, that particular folder already exists, don't create it. Now we'll go ahead inside a data folder. Here we'll be able to see that we have this databases folder. And inside this, I'm going to go and create my database file. If you are using SQLite in the local, also we can go ahead and create it. Right. So if you already know about how to work with SQLite, I think this video will be very simple for you. That is a kind of prerequisite for you. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a sample database. Okay. So creating a sample database, first of all, I'm going to create a connection. So I'll go ahead and write SQLite.3.connect and I'll give my folder name for the database, right? The folder name is data slash databases slash company database. Let's say that my database name is company.db. I'll first of all go ahead and create a cursor. So I'll write on connection dot cursor. So this will basically pointing, this cursor variable will be pointing inside our database, that is company.db. And here it will be responsible for adding a records, creating a table, creating multiple databases if you like, and all. Not specifically creating a database, but at least to insert a record, delete the record, anything that you can specifically do over here. Okay. Now, if you have some basic knowledge about databases, you know how to go ahead and create a table, right? So first of all, whenever we go and create a table, a database, we need to go ahead a table. So here, what I'll do is I'll write on cursor.execute, and this is my table query. Okay. Create table if not exists employees. ID is integer, which will be my primary key. The name is the text, role will be text, department text, salary is real number. Okay. So I'm just using this and I'll just go ahead and execute this. So once we execute this, here you can see that SQLite 3 dot cursor at the specific memory location. That basically means this table has got created. Now, the next thing is that we'll go ahead and create one more table, which is called as projects. Okay. Because I want to make some kind of linkage, because in a real world scenario, right, whenever you're working in companies, you may be having some kind of SQL databases. And in SQL databases, you may have multiple columns, multiple tables. One table may be linked to the other table. So my main purpose is that I'll show you how you can go ahead and write down a query, read the document, and finally read the data and convert that into document structure. Okay. Now let me go ahead and create a table, which is nothing but projects. So here I'm writing create table if not exists project. ID will be integer, which will be a primary key. Name text, status text, budget real, lead ID is nothing but integer. Okay. So this all information we are basically going to put. So this is my second table that has got created. Now after creating a table, I will plan to insert some records. So for inserting some sample data, I just have created some sample data. So here you can see employees, it's a list of tuples. These are my records for the employees. One ID, John Doe, senior developer, engineering, salary is this. This is my budget. Uh, this is the salary, right? So salary also you have over here. This is a salary. This is a salary. Now with respect to projects, here this numerical is nothing but a budget, and this lead ID is nothing but it will be specifically referring to this employee's ID. Okay. So here you have ID 1, 2, 3. Let's say for this particular record, right? This lead is basically nothing but John Doe. For this, it is Jane Smith. For this, it is Mike Johnson. For this, it is Sarah Williams. Okay. So Sarah Williams is she's not a lead anywhere in this particular project. Now what I'll do is I'll insert this specific records inside our employees table and the projects table. So in order to do that, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and write cursor execute many, cursor dot execute many. If you're exiting many, that will basically means whatever employees see, we are writing a query, insert into and replace into employee values with all these parameters. And we are just giving that in the form of this particular list employees. Okay. Similarly, if you want to also go ahead and execute for projects, I'll just go ahead and write down like this. Insert into or replace into project values with all these particular values, which will be replaced from this particular list variable. Okay. So by executing this two, you will be able to see that my entire database will get created and my records will also get inserted. So you'll be able to see that, hey, let's go ahead and execute this. I'll just go ahead and execute this. This is done. This execution is done. Now what I'll do is I'll also go ahead and write cursor.execute. Let me just go ahead and write down a query. So here you will be able to see select star from employees. Select star from employees. Now if I go ahead and execute, this is a cursor. Okay. And if I want to go ahead and read each and every value inside this, I need to probably go ahead and use a for loop. Now let's say that I'll just try to show you record in some time. But before I go ahead and work on this, what I'm actually going to do is I'll just go ahead and write con.commit. So that basically means that I'm committing all the insertion, and then I will also go ahead and close the connection. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. So that basically means my database have actually created, I have inserted all the records. This one, I'll go ahead and show you how you can go ahead and read this in just some time. Now, let's start working on database content extraction, right? Okay. So database content extraction. So first of all, for this, I'll be using two amazing libraries from LangChain. So from LangChain underscore community dot utilities import SQL database. Okay. So once we have imported this SQL database, which is available in langchain underscore utilities, the next thing is that I want to also go ahead and import uh, dot document loaders. So in document loaders also, we have something called as SQL database loader. Okay. So we are going to specifically use this. Method one is nothing but whatever import we have specifically done. And let's say method one is nothing but SQL database utility, right? So I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna give my DB information, and along with that, let's say if you're hosted in cloud, you just need to go ahead and give the URL over here. Since this is in my local, I'll give my URL like this: SQLite URL slash databases company.db. And then I'm going to get the database info. So in order to get the database info, that is very simple. I will just go ahead and use the same DB variable, and then we can go ahead and use db dot get usable table names, and table DDL, and then get table info. So once you run this, you'll be able to see what are the tables are there. See, so there are two tables that we are going to get from this particular function, get usable table names. One is employees, one is project. Okay. Then if you want to further go ahead and see the DDL, that the data definition language, here you can go and probably see this. Create table employees, things are there. Then you have three rows, John Doe, Jane Smith. Top three rows is basically visible over here. Then here also you have some other things. So all these things are basically available, which is really, really good, you know, and you can actually see all these particular details, right? So this is a very simple way of reading all the documents information. But see, our main aim is that we should be reading from this particular databases, and we should be able to convert that into a document structure, right? So now what I'm actually going to do is that I'll go ahead and provide a custom sequence processing to a document. We'll create a function for that. So first of all, let me quickly go ahead and import some of the libraries. So I'll write down from typing import list. Uh, then along with that, let's see, I think again from langchain.core underscore documents, I need to import document. From langchain underscore core dot documents, we are going to also go ahead and import documents, right? Now we are going to go ahead and create our function. This function will be nothing but SQL to underscore documents, right? And here I'm going to go ahead and give my DB. My DB path will be, which will be in the form of string, and this will be basically return list of documents. Okay. For all the custom processing, you'll be able to see that I'm creating a function, and that will basically be returning a list of documents. Okay. Now here I'll also be creating some kind of definition doc string, convert SQL database to documents with context. Okay, with context. Perfect. Now, first of all, when you are creating this function, as soon as we give our DB path, we should be able to create a connection, right? So now I'll go ahead and write SQLite 3. dot connect, and will connect to the db underscore path. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and create our cursor. In this cursor, will be pointing to our tables, whichever table we try to call. And then we'll go ahead and create some documents, empty documents, because at the end of the day, we are going to create a list of documents. Now, uh, first strategy that I'm actually going to do is that, first of all, I will just go ahead and give a query. Cursor.execute, select name from SQLite master, where type is equals to table. So here we are going to execute all these things and we are going to get all the table info, right? So there are two table info specifically. One is our employees and one is other project. So we are getting both the table info. We are getting both the table info. Now, with respect to table, what I'll do is that I will be, doing one very important thing. I'll be iterating through each and every table. So what I've written for table in tables, I'm getting a table of 0, which will be my table name. And then I'm executing this pragma table info to just get the table information, right? What it is. So this pragma table underscore info will be able to provide you with respect to this query. Then I'm doing fetch all, dot fetch all with respect to this particular execution. I'll get all the column names. See, once we execute this, right, we are going to get all the columns name, right? And then every column name will be taking up. Then we'll go ahead and read from table name. We'll fetch up all the rows. And then here you can see in table content, which is my, probably go ahead and see this table content, which is a local variable where I'll be putting all the information like what is a table name, column names, and total records, and appending inside this, and this will be further added into my documents, right? So here you can see table content plus sample records for row in row file, and inside my document, I'm putting all this specific table content over here. In the metadata, I have db path, table name, length of rows, and SQL table. At the end of the day, I'll be able to achieve this entire document over here. So now, if I just go ahead and execute this, see what will happen. You'll be able to see this thing. And then if you are specifically calling this, let's say I just go ahead and return the document, return the documents. Okay. So now let's call this particular function SQL to documents, and I'll call this particular function SQL to documents. And inside the SQL to documents, I'll just go ahead and give the path. So if you remember what the path is, this is a path, right? This is a path. So it should be written in this way. This is a URI. This is a path, company DB. So once I execute this, here you can see that I am able to get in the form of documents. Two documents. Here you can see one of the document, number of records, 4, page content is all the information regarding this particular table. Here, number of different IDs are there with respect to that information that is put over here. Further, you can take this up and you can do additional chunking. Okay. Now this is also available over here this way. The other way is that you can still go ahead and also apply some different strategies. Okay. Now when I say strategies, that basically means you are just trying to make sure to, apply different integration between two tables. Okay. Let me just go ahead and show you it too. So here you can see, let's say that inside this, after this documents, we'll go ahead and apply one strategy. And this strategy is very simple. I'll go ahead and write something like this. See, here what we are doing, we are executing a relationship. We are creating some relationship document. So we'll execute cursor, execute, select e name, e role, p name as project name, and we apply on project an employee ID and lead ID. Wherever there is a matching, you pick up those records from both the tables, that is project and employee. Okay. Simple. It's a kind of a join, inner join, an employee ID and lead ID, right? So E is nothing but employee, P is nothing but project. So we are joining this to employees and project on this specific condition. Once you get the relationship, here you can also go ahead and create your own relationship with respect to this, and then further you can actually go ahead and create this kind of connection and return the document. So this way also you can actually go ahead and execute this. So here you can see the third document that you are specifically getting is employee project join. So based on a specific join, you can also retrieve any kind of records. So my main aim is to you try to apply different techniques. Try to do some customization. You want to go ahead and use inner join, outer join, left join, and you want to use specific kind of queries based on a specific problem statement. Do that, create that kind of relationship, create that kind of content that you want, right? And based on the particular content, you can modify it and you can put it inside a page content. See, at the end of the day, all these things, why we are actually doing is that so that you try to create some kind of document structure which has lot many metadata information, different kinds of information, where further in the stage where your vector databases should be able to understand this, because it is important whatever chunks we are specifically creating. After this, what you can do is you can further all convert all this thing into multiple chunks, and you can do recursive character splitter. You can apply different splitting techniques and you can do it, right? And this is what I'll be showing you as we go ahead. But this is just one specific example of using databases, how you can read a structure, content from a database, and how you can convert it into document data structure. So I hope you really like this video. This was it from my side. I hope you really like this, and I see you in the next video. Thank you and happy learning. Bye.